Welcome back. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, and Rovi, and today we're going to be talking about interoperability from a tweet from Tech Noir. So I found this to be pretty interesting, and so basically it goes over different types of interoperability.
Well, first of all, why? Well, who cares, right? Like, why are you even talking about interoperability?
Well, it's it seems to be kind of the a feature point in many of the games that are being developed. Metaverse content
from like a Web3 perspective, I think, because I don't know if like the Web2 gamers really care.
Yeah, and we've seen Web2 games with interoperability. Super Smash Brothers, they have different characters. I don't know if all the characters are in the same.
I mean, that's like IP interoperability, I guess.
Yeah.
But has there actually been a case where there's like assets from a game port over to other games?
I don't think so.
Like, are you in there in Fortnite, like Beast and Fools with like Call of Duty guns?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Halo swords?
No, definitely not.
Exactly. So that you can't really claim there's ever been like a true interoperable
that's a good point.
Solution yet.
That's a good point.
Because I don't think the traditional gamer mindset, there's no demand for it.
Yeah.
And from like a business logistics standpoint, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And so what? So then what is the incentive for interoperability?
We've asked this to our own community, and like a lot of our own communities, like, no, like they don't really expect this from the metaverse, right? Because that's the context of why we talk about this.
Yeah,
we're trying to build, and everyone's interpretation of the metaverse is different, right?
Yeah.
Still, even to this day, there's no cohesive explanation to what the metaverse will look like.
Right.
But for whatever reason, like the big wigs, the big mental architects who envision like a finalized form of the metaverse, they all say interoperability.
Yeah.
Is like fundamental.
Is it because blockchain could enable interoperability and therefore should enable?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if blockchain is a thing that for sure technically can make this thing achievable, I think we should just strive for it. Just like from a pure
and plus
technology leveraging standpoint, right?
And if the metaverse is supposed to be as grand as we're saying it is, you would expect content to be interoperable to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think that would add value to the assets itself, right? Like the experience of harboring, like, earning things from the metaverse through whatever experiences that provide things that are earnable.
Yeah.
And then they become ownable. Like you own these things truly for once and for all.
You should be able to take them into different realms.
Well, that's like the best case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like if you own these things, if that were possible, like if we can actually technically achieve something like this, we should go for it because we know that's going to make for the best close to real life type resemblance, right? Because if we're advocating for like a new option as far as an existence layer, outside of physical reality, that's what virtual reality is supposed to represent. Then you kind of you would hope to expect it's, this property of our existing lives to follow suit, right? Like if we have like a Bugatti. Yeah. It doesn't just stay in you could take it somewhere else on the planet, right?
Yeah.
You could ship it to Mars. And it's still
a Bugatti.
Still my Bugatti.
And it's still valuable.
And the physics of Mars might be different. Yeah. It might be harder to drive or I don't know.
Rough.
It would be rough terrain. You won't want a Bugatti on Mars, I don't think. But the point is that thing travels with you no matter where you go.
That's right.
And it belongs to you.
Yeah.
Someone can take it from you. But the point is, you don't have to start over. Yeah. And build a whole new ecosystem and to generate a new Bugatti.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. It makes sense. It's reasonable.
Does it?
All right. So
that's why
we've established the value of interoperability, right?
I think so. Or at least we tried our best.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go through the entire thread here. I do recommend that you guys read it because it's extremely valuable, very accurate.
Good take.
Yeah, it's a good take. Yeah.
From so far, this guy's take is closest to what we're thinking about.
Yes. And so just to get into the weeds here, he does talk about the different types of interoperability that most of these projects, ecosystem, they talk about. So there's cross-chain interoperability.
Which we hear a lot from the blockchain world, right?
Yes, yeah. Partnership-driven interoperability. There's game assets as primitives. Like if you make a couch, the primitive is that you can sit on the couch.
This is the part that we like the most, I think.
Yeah.
Game assets as primitives. Like that just sounds so cool.
Yeah.
And right up our alley.
It's like a gun shoots. This gun should be shootable on every realm. I mean.
Yeah, but there's so many technical implications behind that, which is kind of why he created a whole thread about this, which we'll go through.
Community-centered interoperability.
What does that mean? What do you think that means? Community-centered?
Community-centered. Maybe within a community, you have like interoperable assets, but
yeah, let's call Bored Apes Universe a community-centered thing. So you could probably easily achieve interoperability within that community. You know, they spin off a bunch of Bored Ape metaverses or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's safe to say you could technically achieve some sort of standard within that community-based network where things are interoperable.
Yeah, they're communities, so
but good luck, you know.
Yeah, going outside of that network.
Traversing that into Decentraland or, you know, the Azuki-verse or whatever. Everyone's going to be different, right?
And then finally, the last one is cross-game. So basically, you make a sword, I make a car, we support, you know, both of these assets in our games, and now we start commingling communities, if you will. Yeah,
which we've already identified hasn't happened in the Web 2 gaming sphere.
No, it hasn't. You're right.
So there's probably not many, like, if there was a good reason to do it, it would have been done by now. Because the video game industry has, like, they've tried everything as far as, like, how to monetize as most efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Their you know, their IP and stuff. So if they're like, dude, if we make all this stuff cross game, like, dude, we'll fucking make so much money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they never came to that conclusion. So I mean, it's probably not as intuitive as you would expect, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is the most common type of interoperable function in execution. Like, for example, we've seen a bunch of Web3 projects already take advantage of this. You support our game asset, we support yours, and all of a sudden you do co-marketing, and now you've joined two communities together.
It's true. Yeah, in Web3, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is a very good thread. I felt like there was one missing angle to all of this that wasn't really considered, and I actually tweeted at this fellow here, and let's see if I can find my tweet. Yeah, there it is. So I said, excellent breakdown. We're going to be chatting about this on our podcast. I think there's one more angle that you're not accounting for. I'll reach out with our thoughts and would like your feedback on this as well. Thanks for sharing. And he's looking for our feedback on this.
Your feedback, because you haven't even informed me yet. What is this angle that he missed, dude?
Well, the angle is thinking about from the developer's perspective. Is we have, let's say in the future, I think we're assuming, and I think this is a safe assumption, there's going to be multiple virtual worlds all coexisting within the metaverse, right?
Yeah.
And in these virtual worlds, they all have different limitations, different physics, different everything, where you could perceive that when you make content that they wouldn't be interoperable because of the nature of each of the worlds. We're talking about Unity, Unreal Engine 5, things like this.
Yeah.
So when I think about the developer's perspective, I mean, if you're a developer, you inherently have to decide which silo to build into.
Mm-hmm.
And if you build in which silo, you as a developer are taking a risk on whether or not that silo is going to have a lot of liquidity, a lot of people, a lot of everything.
Especially in like now framework, right? Because there is no clear like winner. Once they are more established, like winner.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are theorizing or they're expecting it like the metaverse to kind of just like dwindle down to like a handful
of virtual worlds.
Yeah, just kind of like how big tech has kind of like gotten to that point. There will be like clear winners, I guess, because they'll have like these standards and liquidity that's present, like obvious incentives for developers to get involved, right?
Yeah, that's why people make a lot of YouTube videos, right? Because there's a lot of eyeballs there. It's a huge community.
It's a huge market. Yeah,
that's why a lot of people
are on
economy. Facebook, on Twitter, like they've collected enough people for us creators to be like, okay, I'm going to make stuff for that platform. I'm going to tweet. I'm going to make videos.
But we're not anywhere close to that right now in the metaverse perspective. Like even like the top performers, I guess you could say, the top perceived, leaders of the industry, like there's minimal developer participation in these things, right? So what's missing, right?
Yeah. So what's missing is the tools to take advantage of cross-development platforms.
For this very reason you're talking about, because it's too risky to isolate your, I guess, efforts just one singular platform, because there's nothing to identify why I should do this. So it makes more sense. I should just focus on content that could be delivered to any of these platforms that exist, because you never know which one will win, right?
Exactly. And
that makes a lot of sense.
So the angle is from the perspective of the developer, they're missing a tool that allows them to develop a piece of content, a game, any piece of content that could be deployable in the virtual world, and allow that tool to deploy that content in multiple virtual worlds. And so this is commonly known as using an abstraction layer that for a cross-development platform tool. And so now the developer doesn't have to choose any silo. It only has to depend on the tool to integrate with the different silos. And then when you make content with that tool, you can deploy to the different silos.
So how does this tool navigate like a developer on like how to properly utilize it? Or does developer just code and create content based on what they know and then just...
For example, this tool, this abstraction layer tool, by the way, we're developing it for MetaZone because we see this problem. We cater to the developers. We know exactly what they're thinking. They're not going to build for silos just because it's too risky, too time intensive. It's too much of everything for them to take a risk. It's easier just to build an iOS app than to build anything for the metaverse. And so with this tool, they don't have to make that decision. They don't have to pick a silo. So what they do is they use this tool. It's basically an SDK. It's using JavaScript or whatever commonly known programming language out there. And in JavaScript, they can build out their code, their game, or whatever it is that they want to build. And then this abstraction layer tool will translate that code into each of the different silos.
See, that's what I was waiting for. That translation mechanism, right? So what does it need to know from all the other existing silos? Like what information needs to be readily like extractable for this translation to
it's easy
model to work? Okay, break it down for me, dude.
It's what SDK.
So you need metaverses with existing SDKs
Correct.
in order to like pull anything of substance from them.
And from our perspective, virtual worlds, we keep saying metaverses, but
it's just
it's interchangeable in this phase of the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's the modern day nomenclature for now.
Yes.
We refer to anything as a metaverse.
We know that saying metaverses is like saying internets, and that's not the right nomenclature. But for now, because it's so early, we'll just call it metaverses for now, because ultimately they are separate silos.
Yeah.
So I forget where I was going with this. So we have different metaverses. The ones that matter are the metaverses that have SDKs. The reason is because developers can pretty much build almost anything in those worlds. And we feel like that's the sort of ethos of the metaverse, is where you can pretty much see everything. Right?
Well, that's where the function is derived from, right? These SDKs. And that's what matters. And if we're trying to create anything even close to like a Ready Player One reality, and if we're talking about interoperability, what is it we truly want to be, interoperable? Like you want your statue to be like deployable in every single virtual.
Who cares?
Yeah, no. You want your gun that does a specific function in one verse to do it in another, right? You want these things to behave and operate under the same logic, no matter where you go.
That's right.
And you can only do that with SDKs, right?
That's right.
But like you said, let's imagine a reality where there's 100 metaverses.
Yeah.
100 SDKs, right? They're all developed by 100 different teams of developers. So what does that look like in your mind?
Like from a tool perspective, or from...
each one's going to have their own like variations as far as like how the function and the logic is deployed, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we can't ever expect that to mature beyond just a bunch of siloed ecosystems. And like you're saying, developers will have to pick and choose which ones they want. It's eerily reminiscent to how blockchain has kind of
fragmented,
rolled out.
Yeah.
Each one has their own consensus models, their own their own interpretation on how you achieve, I don't know, interchain communication. There's just so many different models.
Takes on interoperability for
some of them have their own SDKs. So therefore, if you learn how to develop apps on that, you can't, hop over to the next one and do the same thing you just did. You got to start over.
Yeah, you got to start over. Exactly.
That's a problem.
And so I feel like we have the burden, just because we understand this so early, we have the burden of building this tool, because the problem is happening to us right now.
Yeah.
We see the problem right now. We're like, well, just like every other blockchain project out there, they're like, well, I guess I have to build my own blockchain because it doesn't facilitate my game. Ethereum is too slow. I'm going to have to build this thing called Matic. And then now anyone can make games on blockchain, right? And so we feel like we have to do the same thing and build this abstraction layer that allows developers to not pick silos, allows them to be creative, allow them to make stuff deployable in multiple SDK-enabled metaverses.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Now you have content in the metaverse. You have activities for people to do. Now you're starting to attract eyeballs and attract the retention needed for the metaverse to be what it could potentially compete with countries, right? The GDP of countries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then another cool angle to this thread is if we could succeed, or anybody, doesn't have to be us, can succeed on developing this technology framework that enables people to produce like game assets as primitives, then you can kind of derive experiences from that. Instead of like focusing on the experience first, like focus on the asset, the content, the pieces of content that are necessary in order to, I guess, like create composability with these things in the same way like DeFi apps could be composable 100%. To provide like a whole financial system.
Absolutely.
You can do the same thing with games.
Yeah.
They're just, think of each content with all these functional logic. They're just components, Lego pieces to like a cohesive experience that can be deployed all over the metaverse.
Yeah, right? I couldn't agree more, because assume this table is your piece of land, right? You would deploy a composable game component into this land, and all of a sudden that game component can be accessed through multiple metaverses, right?
Yeah.
And that game component can coexist with other games on that same land. Mm-hmm. Therefore, the landowner or the manager of that land or whoever can create a unique experience on that land that would encourage people to come and spend their time here.
Yeah.
And so that is the value of creating this abstraction layer, because this enables new business models. Like, for example, making a game that is a completely distributed play-to-earn game, right? That can only happen in the metaverse. Mm-hmm. And those game components of that can be distributed will exist in separate lands, separate virtual worlds, and the player would have to traverse different worlds to access different parts of the game.
Yeah, just like you do, I guess. I don't know, like thinking
it's like you need lumber, and then you need to get groceries. You have to go to two separate locations in order to do that. And then all of a sudden now you can go to one location, you go to the next, you get your groceries, you get your wood. Now you're constructing, a workbench, at your house after eating, right?
Yeah.
These are the sorts of different types of things that you would have to do in the metaverse to, complete progress in a given game.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Anything else to derive from this tweet thread? I think that was like the big standout, because we've obviously been thinking about that for a long time.
Yeah.
Because we've dealt with Decentraland, I think, on the deepest of scale.
Yeah.
And because we've interpreted what Decentraland enables more than any other metaverse is the development of like functional products.
Yeah.
Right. No other metaverse we really dabbled with gives you that kind of freedom of development. Right. So from that, we've derived like this is what creates the most engaging type experience that we've seen in the metaverse. Everything is just like spectator of
spectating events,
as opposed to like engagement events. Like you can actually, there's interaction, there's input output because of all this stuff, right? So this has to be like the prevalent user experience throughout the metaverse. That's what's going to create the value layer, right? So it's the most closely resemblant to applications of the internet, right? They fulfill the same user experience, right? When you interact with a robust web app, you're inputting and it's giving you something of value in return in exchange. And that's what keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
Like YouTube, any little input,
it's
using all that information to give you like the most valuable output.
That's right.
And with the metaverse can enable this too, but all these like infrastructure components is what's missing, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's what we're focused on.
And that's what
part of what we're focused on.
Yeah, that's one part. Yeah.
Because what we really want to see is more of that stuff, more of that good content, that engaging content, but it's just not possible right now, right?
Yeah.
Until there's a whole infrastructure layer that hasn't been created yet.
That's right.
To enable that. So
yeah.
It's coming, Lo. It's coming, lads.
Yeah.
It might take a minute.
Yeah, and so I think all the other forms of interoperability are very good ideas. They're just very difficult to execute on and even make it sustainable.
And it's not scalable, really.
Yeah, it's not. Right? Do you think every game, Web3 game out there is going to support every other Web3 asset? Like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, we've already seen it, like, evolve over and over and over again. Like, these standards are essential, right? Yeah. There has to be... We're seeing it with the avatar ecosystem, the whole VRM standardization process. Like, the communities of metaverse architects, they're starting to understand, like, oh, okay, the way we make, I guess, like, avatar ecosystem or economy the most sustainable and like the richest, most robust that it can be, we all have to adopt like a similar standard of creation for these things.
And I feel like that puts a hamper on like creativity and design.
Yeah. For that specific standard is narrowed down to like a humanoid element, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's where it makes it kind of like limiting.
It's limiting, yeah.
But that's not to say at some point there'll be a new standard that's much less limiting.
It's like 4 legs,
I don't know.
4 legs and 2 arms. Like it's infinite. Like that's the issue.
But that's how it always happens, right? It starts with something that's a little like less dynamic, and then eventually over time, more dynamic features get added on, and then new standards emerge, and before you know it, you got like limitless ability, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, Tech Noir, I appreciate your tweet thread. This was excellently executed.
Yeah, dude, definitely pump out more threads if you got more thoughts, because that was very forward thinking.
Yeah, it is.
Very on the nose of like what people should be talking about, I think.
Yeah, and if you would like to come and chat with us, just to talk shop on all this like metaverse interoperability stuff, we'd love to have you come on and talk it out. Let's see, what else? I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment below, like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner, at MetaZone.io, and at Rovi AI.
And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.